Hello, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at this Sanyo M-G31A. It dates from the mid 1980s and it was made in Japan. And this is a really lovely example, I've got to say. It looks super clean. Obviously hasn't had a deep clean and polish yet, but overall it's kind of free of any major dings or scratches and scrapes and stuff like that. So I reckon this is going to be a beauty. We're going to give it a gentle service though. We're just going to check everything over and replace the belts in this one. So I thought we'd have a quick look, and yeah, hopefully not too much to do. So let's get it open out of the case. And we can see it's a lovely little Sportster case there, all embossed. And the idea is you can have it around a belt loop or whatever as well. It still gives you access, of course, to your major functions. Well, just while I'm talking about that, I'll just let you know what they are. So you've got a master function switch here for your radio and tape. The radio itself is AM, FM, and you've got an FM stereo light just there as well with your tuning knob on the top. You can also choose between stereo and mono. There's a single headphone output there, and your tapes actually allows you to have different biasing on there for normal and indeed metal, which is kind of cool, especially for its time. And with regard to the transport controls, you've got your play and stop and fast forward and rewind with your volume control just on the side there. Not all cassettes of the time had rewind, some of them only had fast forward, and so it's quite nice to have the whole shebang on there. In terms of the layout, by the way, the idea is once this is on your hip and it's that way, you play it, it's almost like an accordion, so you'd press play and then stop is down there. So it's all supposed to be quite intuitive when you have the buttons, as I say, at your hip, as you would have done in perhaps 1985. Right, good stuff. So you can see a DC input just there. It's 6 volts negative pin, and that's because there are 4 batteries in there. So you've got your 4 contacts, 4 times 1.5 volts. So the battery terminals look really clean actually, and the ribbon's really bright and colourful, proper, almost like a day glow orangey pink colour. So that's kind of nice. Right then, we'll give it a quick plug in. I think, as I've got a mains adapter here, I'll just give it a plug in through the mains and we'll see what state the belts are in. So I've got negative pin, 6 volts just there. I know the radio works okay on this. I won't try it now because it's on the same circuit as these LED lights and it'll cause all sorts of interference, but the tape should be okay. So there we go, let's try this and play. Alright, stop. Bit sluggish. Okay, it's working, but it's a little bit sluggish. Let's put some speakers in. Let's see what the actual audio output's like. And I'll just use my mid-80s Sanyo JSX37 speakers just here. And we'll just try this out now. So we're definitely on tape, and play. Okay, well it sounds pretty slow to be honest. Okay, overall it's working. Overall it is working. Okay, but it is, yeah, it's very slow and quite wobbly. So alright, let's get in the get inside the mech, change the belts, clean the head, capstan, pinch roller, and adjust the speed if we need to. Happy days. Right, let's get on with it then. So the first thing, got 5 screws here on the back case. And that lifts away like so, and just got a little bit of shielding just on the inside of the lid just there. Careful not to lose the screws. Okay, So we've got another screw here for the main shielding plate. Okay, it shouldn't be too hard to get to the belts on this. Most personal stereos of this design work on the same principle, in that we can generally peel the board back to get access to the mech. Now, most of the screws holding the back case, in fact I think all of them, go through the board and hold the board in place, so that now that that's away, I believe we've just got this one screw here to remove. And it should peel back. I'm just going to check if it's loose. Yes, it is. Alright, in terms of the wires then, we've got the heads coming up through here. We've got the motor sort of battery power supplies and stuff I think coming this side. And on this side all we have are the power supply from the mains jack. So I think if we get those away, we should be able to peel it back. In terms of the screws that are left, these are just for mounting the tuning capacitor and the rod antenna, so we can leave those tiny little black screws alone. By the way, it's also a good opportunity here just to check the condition of the solder on the headphone jack and the switches and stuff like that, because over the years they can, with the use and the wiggling of the headphones being plugged in, can work the traces loose and fracture or cause joint issues here, and that's when you get loss of signal or intermittent headphones. So now can be a nice time to reflow those if you need to. I had a quick wiggle with the speaker wire when we were doing a test run just now, and everything's okay, so I don't need to touch any of that today, but I will just get these wires away, and that will allow us to get to the belts. Good, so now that's done, it should just be a case of gently peeling this back, which we can, and that now gives us access beautifully to the mech inside. So there we go. We can also see the other side of the board now. We can see the mixer chips, the radio side. We can see the power amp, the preamp and the power amp chips just there. Yep, not too bad at all. And probably, what have we got, about a dozen, maybe 15 electrolytic caps. But again, the audio channels and everything seem to be working fine, so we'll leave all that alone. We will just focus today on replacing these belts. While I'm on that subject, I can see already that they're quite wobbly, especially this main drive belt here. It's probably been left for some time and it's probably deformed. You can see a bit of a wobble when you move that. It's also slipping. If I put a gentle bit of pressure on the motor pulley and turn the flywheel, it is slipping. The inner belt less so. Actually no, that's quite loose as well. Yeah, it's all a bit, just got a bit loose and slippy. So let's get that away then. So what we can do now is remove the backing plate here. For the flywheel. Slightly smaller screw on the adjuster just here. You could probably get away with just slackening it off. In fact, I know you can. There we go. And we'll just leave that spring. There's a little spring underneath that screw which you use for setting the actual back pressure against the flywheel for the end float. But we can leave that exactly as it is for now. That's fine. No need to remove that. So here we go then. Here's the main drive belt. Not too bad. You can see it's a bit deformed. Generally just going to be a little bit out of shape, a little bit dry, a bit slippy. And then we've got the second belt that runs in the bottom groove, like so, which again doesn't look too bad. You can see if you saw those in isolation, you'd say, well, actually, you might get away with those, but in actual fact, they're a bit slippy, a bit dry. You'll get the bit of wow and flutter. That's probably going to be more to do with this particular point here. So I'm just going to measure these belts up, get a couple of replacements, and we can do the reversal. Now, the belts haven't dried out to the point where they've degraded or broken down. So you can, if you want to, just go in here with some isopropyl alcohol You can go the whole hog, pull the flywheel out, put a drop of oil inside the bearing for the flywheel, but that's running beautifully. There's no need for that at all. Everything else is okay. You can also go in here now and remove the grease and re-lube that, but again, the transport controls are all working fine. The grease hasn't dried out, so there's no need to do any of that. Okay, so when you're in these machines, it's just it depends on the model and the exact one you've got. Sometimes you have to go the whole hog, strip it all apart and almost rebuild from scratch. Sometimes less is more. Just leave it, let sleeping dogs lie. If it generally works, which this one does, we're not going to go mad on this. We're just going to, as I say, replace the belts, check it over. Everything's tickety-boo. So, as I say, we get these new belts on and put it back together again. Okay, I've got the new belts. And you can see 1mm square profile, just like the old ones. So we'll get those on now. Bottom one first. Nice. Yep. Happy with that. And the top one. Lovely. Just enough bite on there, nothing slipping, but it's not being strangled either. Good stuff. So all that remains is to start reversing the procedure. So we'll just swing this backing plate back down. You could re-grease that if you chose to. So we screw this one down all the way, and then this one we adjust. Slightly smaller screwdriver, adjust that one to taste, as it were. So just going to check the float. You can hear that's a bit too much. Yep, happy with that. And just a little bit of glue to stop that screw from coming undone. Rightio, so next job is we just gently roll the circuit board back over. Make sure that the power cables are in the right place. Make sure that the head cables are in the right place. Yep. Happy with that. So I'm just going to put the sole screw into the circuit board. Like so. And just checking that the others line up correctly for when we put the backing plate on, the actual plastic back cover shortly. So again, just got the soldering iron warming up, and all we need to do is get these cables wired back in. And I just took a moment there to check access to the speed adjustment screw if we needed to. And on a lot of the Sanyo models, there used to be access through the battery cover just there. But I've noticed on this one, it's a tiny little screw, which you may not even see from there. There's a tiny little hole anyway, just about there. And that does correspond with another hole in the back case, just there. So that when it's in place, you can actually adjust the speed on the fly as well if you need to. So on that basis, everything's in place. We've resoldered the only two cables we had to detach. We've put the one screw that we had to remove from the board. So the next job then is just to get the back cover on. Always be careful with this bit. You've got to line up the little LEDs and the switches and stuff like that. So always just be a bit careful at this stage. Make sure nothing's fouled anywhere. No, that's all good. Happy with that. So we'll just screw this back case back on. Oh no, we won't. This is why it's always worth being organised and tidy when you work. Because I've just realised that the shielding plate wasn't on as it was supposed to be. So we better get that back on, haven't we? That'd be awkward. Right, there we go. Visibility is helped by the little compression washer there. We've got a little orangey red washer on the other side, which guides us in. Right, we'll try that again, shall we? But this is why I always like to work in a clean, tidy area. That's it, back case is back on. Yeah, work on a clean, tidy area, because that way any single tiny little screw, and you know, if you've missed it, you'll know where it's come from and what you've missed at each stage. But anyway, we got there in the end. So let's get this back cover on. Time for a quick sanity check before the final polish. Yeah, cool. Very obscure music, but it's what came with an old radio or something that I bought recently. So anyways, that's good stuff. Let's get this polished up and have a quick listen. So here it is then, the M-G31A from Sanyo, all the way from the mid-1980s. It's a very handsome unit. It feels really well built, I've got to say. It's typical Sanyo quality of the time. Very nice to work on, very easy to work on. Hope you found it interesting. Let's have a little listen to it then, just to make sure everything's tickety-boo. So play. Nice. And then if we just rewind it, stop, fast forward, stop and play. Oh, nice. Brilliant. I bet that sounds amazing with headphones on. As I say, just some little tinny speakers just so that you guys can hear what's what. Might even give the radio a little burst actually. I'll just turn the volume down a minute. I'll need to just kill the lights just to give the FM the best chance in here in this room. So let's put it onto radio. There we go. Turn it up a touch. But you could see the FM stereo light working there. Obviously the wires normally act as the antennas, so I'm just kind of pick the speakers up a little bit to get some clarity, but the radio's working absolutely perfectly. Really pleased with that. Tape is working properly, as I should say. There it is. And that's from the batteries and the mains, it works fine. So there we go, that's another one ready for the next generation. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you found it interesting or indeed useful if you've got one of these that you're looking to service yourself. Do check out my other videos. Thanks ever so much for stopping by. Stay safe. I'll be back soon. In the meantime, look after yourselves and bye bye for now.